Today I'm gonna show you how to make a hearty Tuscan tomato porridge, so stick around. Welcome back to No Recipes. I'm Mark Matsumoto, and I'm here to show you how to elevate your everyday meals, so hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so you don't miss out. If you like dipping your bread into your tomato soup a little longer than you probably should, then this porridge is for you. Although it's usually translated bread and tomato soup, Pappa al Pomodoro is probably closer to a porridge. The idea is to make a basic tomato soup and then add bread to it, which gives it this rich, velvety texture that's perfect for taking the chill off of winter. The most basic recipes call for just 4 ingredients: olive oil, garlic, tomatoes, and bread. But today we're going to embellish ours with a little red onion and basil. Like any simple dish, the quality of the ingredients matters, so let's have a look at what we're using today. For the tomatoes, I like using a combination of good stewed tomato puree along with a fresh tomato. The puree gives you the robust umami of ripe tomatoes, while the fresh tomato gives you a refreshing hit of acidity and that sweet, fruity flavor that only the fresh ones have. Today I'm going to be using 2 cups of puree and 1 medium-sized tomato that's about 180 grams. Our other ingredients include 2 tablespoons of good extra virgin olive oil, and you'll want to have a little extra to drizzle on top at the end. I'm also using 10 grams of garlic, 70 grams of red onion, 125 grams of stale crusty bread, a half teaspoon of salt, and about 10 grams of basil. The first thing we want to do is whack our clove of garlic with the side of a knife until it's nice and smushed. Then you can remove the peel and then roughly chop it up. This is supposed to be a rustic dish, so there's no need to bust out those fancy knife skills. Next, I'm gonna slice up the red onions into relatively thin slices. Again, we're not aiming for perfection here, and small variations in size is what's gonna give our porridge some texture. For the bread, I'm gonna cut it up into cubes. It's gonna partially dissolve into the soup, so the shape isn't super important, but you wanna get the cubes relatively small so you're able to toast them in the pan. Finally, we wanna core and then dice up our tomatoes. It's best if you can get ripe tomatoes, but the fact that we're using a jar of stewed tomatoes gives you a bit of leeway. Okay, our prep's done, so let's start cooking. I've got a pot preheating over medium heat that I'm gonna add the olive oil to. Then I'm gonna add the garlic and onions. Now you wanna saute these until the onions turn translucent, but not so long that they start to brown. Once they're looking kinda like this, I'm gonna go ahead and add the bread. We're not really looking to brown the bread, but you want it to soak up the oil and get nice and crusty around the edges. This is looking good and it's smelling amazing, so I'm gonna go ahead and add the fresh tomatoes, as well as the pureed tomatoes. You can add about a 1/3 cup of water to the jar and swirl it around to get every last drop of tomato. This will also help keep your porridge from burning. Then I'm gonna tear up some of that fresh basil into the pot. Okay, let's give that a stir. Just enough so that all the ingredients are evenly distributed. Then I'm gonna turn down the heat to low, cover the pot with the lid, and let it gently simmer for about 10 minutes. You do need to keep an eye on it though, because if you run too low on liquid, your porridge is gonna burn. You can usually tell when this is happening when you start hearing a sizzling sound, so just add a bit more water if you're worried. Before I finish this off, I want to send a special thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon who helped fund this video. By contributing a few bucks each month, my patrons help cover the costs and time that I spend developing and testing these recipes. If you're learning something new from my recipes, I hope you'll consider clicking the link down below to join the No Recipes crew and support our future videos. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove the lid and stir this until it's nice and creamy. Now I'm gonna taste it and figure out how much salt it needs. Both bread and tomato puree can contain salt, so it's best to adjust the amount of salt you add based on how it tastes. I think it needs a bit more salt, so I'm gonna hit it with another pinch. Ingredients are always gonna have some variability, so it's important to learn how to taste food as you cook it and make adjustments to make it taste right to you. You know you've got the salt right when the umami and sweetness of the tomatoes blooms in your mouth and you can't wait to take another bite. This is looking perfect, so let's get it plated up. I like to finish my Pappa al Pomodoro off with a drizzle of olive oil and some freshly torn basil. You can also top this off with a poached egg or some grated hard cheese. I know it's not the prettiest looking dish, but trust me, one bite of this and you'll never look at a stale hunk of bread the same way again. You already know that the tomatoes, onions, and garlic are gonna taste amazing, but the bread takes this to the next level by giving the soup body and richness while lending it a nutty flavor and boatloads of umami. Pappa al Pomodoro is a ridiculously simple savory side that can be served alongside meat or seafood, but it also makes for a hearty plant-based meal that can be served alone or with some roast veggies. If you enjoyed this video, let me know you want to see more like it by giving this a big thumbs up and by sharing this with all your friends that could use a little comfort in their lives. Well, it's snowing outside, but I'm nice and toasty thanks to this porridge. So give it a try and I'll catch you in the next one. Check us out on Instagram at No Recipes.